Well, hey everybody. What we've got here is was supposed to have been a firewood box several years ago. This is all pieces I've had cut out and stacked on the back wall of the weird shop for several years now. And obviously, since we can't get out and get anywhere, kind of bored. And so I'm gonna restart this thing, and I think I could probably get it done. So I would have told you that it's inspired by a Norm Abram design, but I've got a couple of his books and I could not find them. I also have a book here titled Making Authentic Shager Furniture. Thought maybe it was in there. There is a log bin in there, but it's not as much as this one is. So it makes me think it's Norm instead of Shaker are these curves here. This is not something I would have done on my own, but anyhow, what we've got is the main wood will be red oak, and then for the bottom I'm going to use plywood. I'm going to figure out how to attach the sides and the back together, which won't be that much of a challenge, because as we look at and we talk about grain, this grain is running this way. This is the back, this is the side, this grain is also running this way. One challenge that we'll have when the time comes for it would be this grain here. So this is the front panel. Here's booby trapped. Everything's just leaning up for this video, but I can show you this anyway. So this is the side, and the grain's running this way. And this piece here is the front. And you see that it's running this way. So a couple options here, but the important thing to remember is don't glue this. Don't glue perpendicular grain. The wood will shrink and swell as it does, and if you glue perpendicular grain, you're going to have some tearing and some problems. So anyway, just want to introduce you to this project that I've had going now for a while, and well, let's get started. Okay, so the piece of plywood that I need, it wants to be 14.5 by 23.25. We have the bottom piece cut out now, and I've got some clamps in the back because I am working one-handed down here, but this is just kind of just a test fit, and I want to get the nicer face. There's no great face in this one. Just get this in here like this, just as a kind of a dry run, dry fit. Make sure everything goes together well enough. And you'll see now I need to make a small adjustment down here. Take some off of this plywood for some reason. Either this isn't square or the plywood's not square, either way. So there, the front is on, and then we are ready to put it together. I'm just going to use drilled and countersunk screws. Usually, I like to not use visible fasteners on my stuff, but sometimes you can't help it. And the phrase that keeps running through my mind here is that perfect is the enemy of good. So you know, this doesn't have to be perfect. This just has to be the best I can do, and if the best I can do is screws, then that's what we'll do. Okay, so what we have here is just 2 screws. They're temporary, permanent. They will go back in there eventually, but they may need to be taken out for this next step. But that did let me take the clamps off of the front face. I still have the clamps on the back, and that's actually what I'm going to address now. So if you see here, I have a little bit of a gap, and it's a little bit hard to tell, but the back is actually going to sit on top of that plywood. What I want to do is I want to take that plywood from the very bottom of the bin. I want to raise that plywood up the same distance as, oh, too much light. I want to raise it up the same distance that we're missing here. So what I need to do is determine what this is from top of the back to the top of the side, and I'll measure up from the bottom. I've got this piece of oak cut off here. It looks like it's surface 3 sides some ways, but it was just laying in the stack. What I'll do is I'll fix this up to be a cleat, and it'll actually be attached. The shop's not big enough. So this will be attached on the inside of this part. I'm going to use these screws. They are Kreg screws for the Kreg jig, but I'm going to use them as a face screw, so they'll go in on the inside. They're 1.25 inches, so this is 3/4, and this is not. This part's not 3/4. The thing is that this screw then will not come through the outside, if you see there. So you won't see these. So we have the cleats attached on the inside. The plywood bottom will be resting on those, and we've got the back secured. Again, these are temporary permanent. There's 2 on each side, just like there's 2 on the front side. The reason that these are temporary permanent is even if I don't have to take this case apart again to build it, I would like to put glue down on this joint. So this screen is running. I did find this. This is a Norm Abram project. It was not in any of the books I've got, but it was on his new Yankee Workshop show, season 3. So look up Shaker Woodbox, and this is that's the episode that inspired this project. We are going to continue working on the Shaker Woodbox made from red oak. What we're going to build here next was originally going to be sort of have a lid that you would lift and then could close back up, but this will be a small box now. Appears to be, because I'm out of the material to build a lid for now, it's going to start out life as just an open top box, but you can still put newspapers in there. You can put your lighter in there if you don't have little kids, maybe some kindling too if that's what you're into. So what we did is we just did our best to match the width of the sides. Everything is still temporary permanent. We have not glued anything, so everything can be taken apart and put back together. So the plan here would be get this plumb up and down, and then we'll put 2 screws. So what we're looking at here is the Kindling newspaper shelf. Again, it was going to be a lid. No, I don't have any more material. So what I did was just I did zip 1 screw in on each end just to hold it. Have one of my kids come down and help me there. And then for the shelf itself, it's only right now it's fixed in there with just 3 brads just as a holder, so that I could work 2-handed again instead of 3-handed. So I think I like the idea of not putting any screws in here. I can putty over these, no sweat. A little bit of a rough look here. And I think I've also changed course again as far as gluing. I don't think I'm going to glue these. I'm just going to zip some more screws in there. So what I think I'll do, because I'm not going to remove this back piece anymore and glue it, I'm just going to run some screws in from the back into this. Between the screws in the back and the brads that I'll put along the front edge, put a few more to secure it. That'll be stout enough. Remember, this is just going to be kindling a newspaper. So we'll do that, and then we'll keep carrying on. It is functionally complete. So you see the plywood base. That's for where the wood would go. Word would go. You can put words in there. The kindling shelf, and it's got a nice profile, and it should hold quite a bit of wood. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to finish popping some screws in. I left very minimal just for the assembly, because I didn't want to take a bunch out and put a bunch in. So what I'll do now is I'll figure out how many screws I'm going to end up with on the back. Probably only put one more in the front, on either side in the front. I'll probably put one more on the front of the shelf. There's some screws in the back here fixing the kindling shelf in, but we're going to sand it up, and I think we're going to stain it. I don't like to do a lot of finishing, painting, and sanding, but this is going to be in the house, so it should be sanded. So what I used to do is I used to go get tack cloths, you know, from the paint store, and they're just exactly what they sound like. They're a little bit of a tacky cloth, and that would help you get all the spare sanding dust off of your, I don't know if you can see, it's a little bit off white. So there's a little bit of sanding dust left on there. I don't have any tack cloth right now. So we're just going to use a paper towel. And then I do have some old wood stain. It's called gunstock. Anyway, it's the closest color I had to what I wanted to make it look like. So we're going to finish wiping it down, and then I'll show you how I put the stain on it. So we spent about the last 15 years raising babies, and so we have a lot of baby washcloths. And don't worry, this is stain, not not anything else. But what I like to do is just take the stain and dip the rag in it. And then what I'll do is I'll put it on there, and I won't be too focused with thickness or thinness of it at this time. We'll just keep putting it on there. And the thing you'll want to do is try to make sure that you leave it on for around the same time all around. It'll give you a more even coat. If you want it to be darker, leave it on there longer and before you wipe it up. If you want it to be on the lighter shade of this particular color, then you want to wipe it dry a little sooner. So the big thing there is to make it even. And then what I like about these baby washcloths is you've usually got enough surface area then to do your wipe down. And I tell you, I like the way that looks. That's that gun, what's it called? Gun stock. That's a good looking color. Probably why I chose it in the first place. So we're just gonna keep on staining this, and then we'll probably let it dry overnight, and then I'll come back and I will probably put a coat of clear coat sealer on it, and we'll see. So anyway, this is the staining portion of the shaker wood box. Hope you find it useful.